I think if there was a way to find a repository of jokes, I'd probably build like every hour, show me a joke. Or whenever
Actually, you can do that. That's the easiest thing to do.
I just want to click on it and there's a new good joke every time I click on it.
To generate a joke and then show the setup and delivery part joke generator.
Documentation is like sex. When it's good, it's very good. When it's bad, it's better than nothing. All right, next one. I have a joke about trickle-down economics, but 99% of you will never get it. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
You were telling me about something amazing that happened this week, which is something called SmolAI. Do you just want to dive into it? Tell us what SmolAI is.
Dude, so you know the number one thing I got belted for like 2 years ago? It's saying that AI is going to replace artists, or at least, you know, give artists stiff competition. And I have this one reel where people just thrashed me in the comments, right? Now I'm saying something very similar about software engineers, right? And I think nuance is very important. Like, let me explain myself fully. The number of software engineers is going to sharply increase because everyone's going to be able to be a software engineer. And today I'll show you why, right? But at the same time, junior software engineers will probably not make anywhere close to what they're currently making. A junior software engineer in India now can make anywhere between 50,000 rupees a month to like even 2 or 3 lakhs. And this is junior level, like freshers, people with almost no experience, right? That is probably going to change. I'll tell you one paradigm shift I had in the world of software. There was this, when I first started coding, I used to do in a language called Delphi. Then at the age of 18 or 19, I tried a new framework, okay? And that framework was called Ruby on Rails. And what the framework made magical was it introduced something, at least to me, called scaffolding. Okay, now I know we're going into a lot of tech terms, but I'll explain each one of these, right? I'm going to be careful about that. Scaffolding means that a lot of code that you might have written to do simple stuff, right? Maybe to put up a page, maybe to create a simple user wala model where, you know, a person is able to put their username, password and stuff like that. Rails was able to do out of the box. And that was magical for me, right? But because before that, you know, you had to write every single line of code manually, at least for me. Now, scaffolding has taken a new turn where it's not just simple boilerplate stuff like, make a simple page where users are able to log in and do this or whatever. So now scaffolding is a little bit different where I can tell AI with a prompt, do this for me or build this for me. And it gives you all the base code for it along with the working executable, which we'll show you today. And you can actually just use it in production. You can literally use that code, modify it as you wish. It's the best time to be somebody who has, common sense, because now all these tools are available. And as long as you're able to prompt them into submission, you're able to build whatever you want. You're able to build content. You're able to create websites. You're able to, put out apps of your own. So I feel like we're entering a new era. And I'm excited to show you and share it with you all.
And this is what Smol is?
So I'll tell you what Smol is and I'll tell you how I discovered it. I saw a tweet, somebody said SmolAI, and there's so many tweets now about in the AI space that I just ignored it, but I bookmarked it. Day before yesterday, I went through my bookmarks, I saw it. I was like, let's give this repository a spin. And the repo requires a lot of waitlisted things. Like you need to be waitlisted into the GPT-4 API. You need to have some access to something called Modal. And I just sent emails to the CEO of Modal and I said, please let me in, right? So I got access immediately. So I bet it hasn't gone viral yet because of that one access requiring step. And I just tried it. And the minute I tried it, I called my CTO and a bunch of other devs and I was like, check this out. This is like so cool. And in fact, the big thing that is stopping many of you, including you, Tanmay, from using this today is just the setup work, right? That requires a little bit of knowledge of how to write code. But assume I put a UI on top of it and allowed anybody to use this, you all would be making your apps, your own Chrome extensions, etc. You are Tanmay Bhatt, okay? You have some ideas, okay? But you can't build apps because unfortunately you didn't learn how to code. Now, what if I told you that you can, this is not really prompt engineering, it's engineering with prompts. It's the weird way to put it, right? Tell me what you want to create. Let's start with something simple. Let's start with a Chrome extension, which is a personal task manager. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Simple Chrome extension, task manager. We are going to allow people to put up tasks and they'll check mark or cancel the task once they're done. Okay, and it'll have some amount of persistence, which means that if you close the browser and come back, hopefully the tasks are still there, right? We'll engineer it for this. Okay, so I'm going to open this scary looking thing. It's called WSL. This allows you to run a Linux terminal inside Windows. It's actually a little more complicated than that, but in short, it allows me to interact with all the Python scripts that Small has in its nice little repository.
Okay.
I'm already in the Small folder. Okay. And now we are going to generate what you want. Tell me what you want.
How do we get to this part?
So to get here, you need to download something called WSL. If you're on Windows, just go to Google, type WSL. You'll find install Linux on Windows with WSL. Just install this. Once you finish installing this, there's like a process you go through. You will immediately have this thing. And once you have this prompt, you can just go to your Windows and type WSL. Start menu, it's lagging. But anyway, you type WSL, you arrive here. Then what you do is you find the repository you want to interact with. Okay. And before that, there are a couple of things you need to do, right? Like you need to create a virtual environment, because if you don't create a virtual environment in Python, it can sometimes get really messy, especially if you're working with multiple repositories. So we use something called Conda. Let me just show you what the process is. Let me just restart WSL from scratch. Okay. So I'm going to start WSL. I'm just going to go to the place that I want to. Okay. This is the repo. Now, as you can see, it says base here. Okay. What we want is, we wanted to activate the environment that we have. So we're going to type conda activate small3. I've already created an environment called small3. We're not going to go into what it's like to actually create an environment, but you can Google it. It's fairly simple, right? It's a Python 3.9 environment for those of you that are technical. But if you're not technical, it doesn't matter, because one day there's going to be a UI on top of small, and it's probably going to be in the next few days. We are only probably going to build it if nobody else does.
If the idea is to get me to build an app, it's just
you need it to be simpler.
I want everything to be a chat interface. Everything.
Exactly.
I just type it down and it just happens.
Yeah, but you see, a lot of people who are making money in AI right now are building simple tools that are, they're making 100K, 200K a year. And it's all just user interfaces or chat interfaces on top of many of these repositories that already exist. It's really, there is an opportunity in doing that, right? Like people think it's all about engineering. It's about presenting that engineering to your user in the right way. So I've activated this environment called Small. You don't need to go into, how to activate environments and stuff. Or rather, you just type conda activate small3 now. And by the way, for those of you that are here so far, don't get confused. This doesn't matter, because there is going to be a UI on top of this. Okay. Now we are going to run a script. We're going to say Python. Okay, that invokes Python. It allows us to run whatever Python file we want. And there's one called main_no_modal.py. Okay, and we put in a prompt here. Okay, manifest v3 Chrome extension. And I'll tell you why I wrote manifest v3 instead of just Chrome extension. Because remember that it's using a lot of past data, and Chrome doesn't use v3 anymore. V2 anymore. And most of the stuff that you make with this will end up being manifest version 2. You don't need to know what it is. Just know that you need manifest version 3 to make Chrome extensions in today's day and age. Okay. So a manifest v3 Chrome extension that is a task manager. It allows the user to write in tasks and with check marks next to them. When a task is complete, the user can
tick off the task. There's one more thing I want to ask it to do is, I want it to be a certain minimum size, right? Make sure the pop-up is at least 600x400. Right, so let's start with this. 1 second. I just need to put in my OpenAI key. By the way, I want to show you how I debug stuff. Okay, I'll copy paste this. I'll go to chat.openai.com. Okay, I'll just paste the error in. This is how I use this thing, by the way, GPT now. Okay, and it'll tell me what the issue is. There's no OpenAI API key in the environment. Okay, so I need to set the OpenAI key here. Okay. Or I need to do this, because we're on a Linux environment technically because of WSL. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it. Okay, I'm just clearing it out.
I just inputted my API keys so that you guys don't see it. Now I'm just going to press the up key and it's going to show me what I last wrote. I'm going to press enter and it has begun. Hi, it's me, the small developer. You said you wanted a manifest v3 Chrome extension that yada, 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 and it has started. Okay. So it is, the prompt for it is you are an AI developer who's trying to write a program, blah, 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 blah. It's not showing the entire thing, but that's not because it's not working. It's because it's been truncated there. And as you can see, it's already started saying what the structure of the thing needs to look like. You need a manifest file, you need a pop-up, you need a JS for it, you need the CSS for it. You don't need to get into what these terms are. It probably doesn't matter so much to you right now because it's just going to generate the thing out of thin air. Okay. So let's go through what it's thinking about. Okay. The app is a manifest v3 Chrome extension. There is a task manager. Okay. It allows the user to write tasks, blah, blah, blah. So what are the dependencies? Okay, what are the variables it needs? For example, it knows the task list is a variable, which is an array. It's a variable of type array. You don't need to know what this is for now. And it's figuring out everything, right? What are the ID names of the elements in that small little pop-up that it gives you? All of it, right? It's also creating the function names to create a task, to add a task, to toggle task completion, and to update the task list, right? When you finish toggling something. All right, so now it's creating the manifest for you, as you can see. Takes a little bit of time. Okay, now it's written, it's starting to write the code for the HTML of the pop-up, right? So what's going in the pop-up? What are the different parts of the pop-up? What's going to be in the body? What are the buttons? What are the, the text at the top? All of that stuff is being created for you.
Okay, so while this is writing the code on the side and finishing its tasks, how is this better than AutoGPT? AutoGPT is something similar, right? Like you also create a list of tasks and it does it.
Yeah. So the difference between this and AutoGPT is this is writing code for you. It understands the dependencies between the different sides of what it's writing. Like if it's putting in 5 different files, it's tying those files up together. It's making sure the dependencies are solved and it's making sure you have something you can actually use.
Okay. And this needs lesser human intervention than AutoGPT?
This needs lesser human intervention than AutoGPT. See, I'll tell you the problem with AutoGPT. The problem with AutoGPT is it can get sidetracked. Because there's recursion going on, at every step, there is now a slight chance it could go on some tangent. Now, if it goes on a tangent in that second step, in the third step, it'll go on an even more tangent. So every step, there's an exponential chance
of it going like 1 degree earlier means it'll be 15 degrees by the end of it. Got it.
Exactly, right? But with this, it sticks to the line of code. It makes sure that its domain is, hey, I'm building an app. You're writing code. You are an AI developer that does blah, 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 blah. And the implementation of this is very similar to Baby AGI. In fact, the person who wrote this also contributed to the Baby AGI repo. Right? Okay, so interesting, whatever. By the way, now it's creating the CSS for us. As you can see, this is
what is the styling?
CSS? So if HTML is the building block of a page, let's say all the boxes, how those boxes look, not the structure, but how they look. The prettiness, whether they have a border, the elements inside them, how much distance they have from the left to the right. All that is determined by CSS. So it's generating the CSS for us. In fact, my only complaint with this is it's slightly slow. Otherwise, it's like brilliant.
Building something like this, if you have to do it manually, how long would this take you?
A task manager that does all of these things and has a little bit of persistence would couple of days.
But one single human would be able to do it.
Yes. Where I think this starts getting useful is you can give it a laundry list of things you can do, which a normal human would have spent a lot of time building up, right? So it can help where there isn't an insane amount of depth required, but a lot of width and a lot of, we call this boilerplate, right? Like stuff that you repeat in every project.
Correct.
You'll have to create authentication all over again from scratch. You'll have to create database connections all over again from scratch. So it can write a lot of that for you. That's what we call scaffolding in Rails as well. And the only function is speed your time up. But for people who have simple app requirements, something like this is actually pretty useful, right? If you don't care about modifying it any further, and this is the difference between art and code, right? With art in AI, I can ask Stable Diffusion or Midjourney to generate unlimited variants and I just pick the best one. Okay, I'm making a selection. Here, you can't create 50 different code bases and pick the right one. You'll probably use one that you're kind of happy with and then you say, I'm going to modify this, right? That modification requires intelligence. It requires you to understand code. This is why I keep saying, right? Coders are going nowhere, In the sense, we still need engineers who can
Correct.
take a code base, understand what's going on. You want to change something, where do you change it?
You still need to understand code. But even with Stable Diffusion, you or Midjourney, right now, you ask it to make variations and then you're sort of stuck with it.
Yeah.
Whereas if that art was like a code base, you can literally take the image and fix minute details inside it, which right now as an artist you can't.
Yes. Unless you break it down to multiple parts, which there is a tool to do that, which we're probably going to show you today as well. But the idea is, code is very different from art because you can't just generate 50 variants and say, I like this one the most. Right? That's the problem. You still need to understand how to write code to build on top of this.
How is this different from, like, say, a GitHub Copilot?
It's different from GitHub. You know, even when we write code now, we ask GPT-4 and Copilot to generate a lot of it. But the advantage of this is it ties it up into an entire package for you. Right? All the dependencies are figured out. It's not just generating one file for you or sections of code, it's generating the entire code base. Right? And then you can just dump it into Chrome. Okay, we're done. Okay. Shall we try it?
Yeah. So what's the next step now? It's written all the code for you. Now what?
So now we go to Chrome.
Okay.
Okay. We click extensions, manage extensions. We load this extension. Okay. By the way, this has an error. It says service worker is background.js. Now you can dump it back in. You'll have to reprompt it. But instead of that, we have pretty much exactly the same thing. Let me just put it back here. 1 second. Okay. So we take this, we upload it, a simple task manager Chrome extension. Okay. And it should be there. Now what we need to do is we need to open this and we put our task manager. Okay. It clearly has ignored this thing of 600 to 400. I should have been more, I use the word verbose, but I should have been more clear about it. Like, what do I mean by 600, 400? This is why prompting is very important. Tanmay, tell me a task you have in mind.
Eat noodles.
Eat noodles. Oh, look, a task appeared.
Oh, nice.
Next.
Eat noodles. Drink Diet Coke.
Drink Diet Coke. Subscribe to Overpowered.
God damn it, that should have been the first one.
Added 3. And now let's see if it works.
You click and it disappears. Nice.
It's not just disappeared. It's like added the strike through. I didn't ask it to do that. Right? Eat noodles, strike through. And let's see if it works if I, restart the browser, right? Let's see if it has persistence. I'll close the browser, open it back up, and click here, Task Manager.
Still there. Nice.
Ta-da!
Cool.
Your very own personal task manager.
Cool.
I made a different one the other day. I'll show you that one as well. And again, it pretty much almost always works, right? If it has errors, by the way, it has a debugger as well where you can just throw the error to it and it'll auto heal it. So this is the BBC Top News extension that I had made where I've just given it BBC's API key, like one API key that I generated from the news API. And ta-da! The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Nice.
Top pieces of news. Now I'll tell you where understanding code makes sense, okay? Now let's go back here. Tell me another thing you want to create.
Can it create something with images?
We'll probably have to use image APIs, but it probably can. Let's try. Okay? Let's go to Google and look for any place where there's a meme API. Beautiful. Okay? So we can do this. We can say, okay, Chrome extension. It goes to whatever this thing and displays the image from that, from this along with the subreddit and title. I don't know if this is going to work, but let's give it a shot. Okay. Make sure the pop-up window is at least 600 height and 400 width. Okay? Okay?
Yeah.
Let's see if it automatically wraps the response from...
You are an AI developer is trying to write a manifest v3 Chrome extension. It goes to this link and it makes a pop-up window that's of a certain size.
Yeah. And by the way, I've tried this with asking it to, generate a full app that requires a database and stuff, it does all of that. In fact, I'll give you the SQL file for technical people. If you're not technical, ignore this. Use the SQL file or an SQL set of commands that allows you to generate that table in MySQL or Postgres or whatever the hell you use. Not necessary if you're not a tech person, because it's all going to be abstracted away one day. You're only, just like today, we don't sit and like put wires together before creating a program. All of this is going to be hidden away from view at some point. Okay, this is going to take a while. But you were asking me about AutoGPT, right? Yeah, so why this is different is, I think it actually builds stuff, but the base theory is the same. Baby AGI, AutoGPT, it's agentic in nature. Its job is to think through all the problems, delegate tasks to itself, and to put together a very nice solution for you.
I was wondering about how much of this can be just, text to app. We've seen text to audio, text to video.
This is going to be text to app.
No,
but not directly to the app. It's going to be text to code base. But I'll tell you the one thing, right? There have been demos of working on existing code bases and understanding that code base to a certain extent. So I feel like eventually you will be talking to it in plain English. I don't expect this problem to last more than 1 or 2 years.
I want to reach a place where I say, hey, I want to build this website. This is the background color. I want one box to look like this. This box where people can input their email IDs.
You can already do that. It's just, it won't look that pretty because I think this is optimizing for code. It's not optimizing for the best UI or UX, but eventually somebody is going to solve it. This is an excellent, it's open source.
Then I just want to type in saying, hey, can you deploy it and actually deploy it and make it a website?
It can't deploy yet because deployment is almost the process of, the base process is take all these files, throw it onto a server.
Correct.
Somewhere, right? And ideally attach it to a database if you want to store data. So what I feel is like, there's a company called Vercel, okay, which actually solved this problem of, I have a code base. I need to now deploy it to a server. It made it one click. Vercel made it one click. Straight from your GitHub repository to a server, it made it like instant, right? And also domain, everything, it handled everything. So I feel like eventually this is going to be solved.
If you know how to make that click using Vercel, then you can deploy.
Exactly, right? So now the GitHub part, which Vercel really depends on, you are now solving it, no? Because this entire code base I'm putting on the repository.
On GitHub.
On GitHub. So now you can one click deploy it with Vercel. So it's a simple process and eventually somebody's going to try it. We're thinking we'll do it ourselves, right? Not to make money or anything, but just to show people that, hey, this exists. And instead of you dealing with a code base, it exists. By the way, this is done. Let's see if it worked. Okay. Extensions. Load unpacked. One second. Sometimes it doesn't create icons. So I have to take icons from the other one and paste it in. It still has like tiny bugs like this, but it's a very solvable problem. Okay. Meme display extension 1.
All right.
Okay. It's pulling out the name of the meme. It's pulling out the subreddit it's from, but the image itself is not being deployed. Let's find out why. Refuse to load because it violates the Reddit content security policy. Okay. This can't be beaten. This is Reddit saying, bro, you're using API to try and like pull out my images, but that's fine. Right? If we were using any other source apart from Reddit, this would work. It would show you the meme of the day. And it's even got the name. It's got the, the subreddit it's from. The meme name is called Even Steven by Dank Memes. In fact, that should exist. Let's pull out a random meme.
Got it. Okay.
Right. In fact, every time I refresh, I think I should have a different meme. John from Reddit memes. Yeah, it's pretty good. Do you have any other ideas?
I think if there was a way to find a repository of jokes, I'd probably build like a simple every hour show me a joke or whenever.
Actually, you can do that. That's the easiest thing to do.
I just want to click on it and there's a new good joke every time I click on it.
Okay, so let's do this. A manifest v3 Chrome extension. Okay, let's find a joke API.
So I can write anything and put API in front of it and someone would have made an API for it.
Yeah. And you're just consuming that API and showing it in your way. Now, if you want to generate the jokes yourself, let's say using GPT, you can put the GPT API key. Right? And tell it, use the GPT API and come up with a joke. Okay? Use the blah, 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 joke /any extension. to generate a joke and then show the setup and delivery part if it's delivery as text, if it's, or else just show the whole joke. Okay. Make sure your pop-up is at least 600 height and 400 width. 600 height, 400 width, and make sure content.js exists. All right, let's see if this works. By the way, for those of you that are not devs, don't worry. We're making a simple interface on top of this. All you have to do is write in the prompt and it'll generate everything and ideally also deploy it or give you a downloadable that you can pull into Chrome. See, it's creating functions by itself. Got a fetch joke function, display joke function. And it might look simple and it might look like a toy today, but it's going to get better. Eventually, and in fact, if you look at the demo code that he put in, I can show you some of it. A Chrome extension that reads the current page offers a pop-up UI that has title plus content, text area for prompt. When the user hits submit, it sends to a different blah, 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 Cloud API, blah, 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 only when click, blah, 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 with. This is the original prompt that came with it. This allows you to create a quick page summarizer. This is actual prompting, right? Like what we're doing is very simple prompting, like 1 or 2 lines, but this is like a lot of lines. And this is how verbose you need to be. Verbose, by the way, for people who don't know what the word verbose means, it just means be very clear about what you want.
So this is when you input your prompt, this is what it's telling itself to do. It expands.
No, not that part. This entire thing is the prompt.
Okay, but you didn't.
Not my prompt. I didn't input this. This is what comes with the this thing as an example. Achha. This is what comes with the repository as an example to say, hey, be this clear about what you're doing. He's even inputting code in the middle. So if you're an engineer, this will actually make your work much, much faster. Right? That's why I said it makes all engineers much more powerful. But if you're already a 10x engineer, it makes you a 100x engineer. Anyway, let's get back. It's done. Let's pray it works.
Extensions.
There's a little bit of prayer required. Joke generator.
Documentation is like sex. When it's good, it's very good. When it's bad, it's better than nothing. All right, next one. Click out and click back in. Did you hear about the claustrophobic astronaut? He just needed a little space. Okay, got it. Next one. I have a joke about trickle-down economics, but 99% of you will never get it. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. I mean, what did I do? I just had to find the right API, dump it in. Some APIs require keys. All you have to do is collect all the APIs you want. Almost every idea you think of can be broken down into 5 APIs connecting to each other with some logic in between them.
All right, this is pretty nuts, and this whole thing has taken us just a few minutes to make. Varun, can we please make a chat UI on top of this?
So, in a day or two, we'll launch something.
Yeah, and so that I can like it still needs a little bit of technical understanding, which I'm too lazy to do. I just love a chat UI on top of it where I can talk to it in plain English and it just does it. But for those who are already a little technical, please write to us on this email ID. Show us what you built using SmolAI. We'd love to check it out.
I'll give you some good ideas. Every time I go to a page, see if you can connect to the UberDuck API if it has an API, and say read the page out to me in Morgan Freeman's voice or Eminem's voice. Because when I'm driving, sometimes I look at a page and I'm just like, I want to know more about this. But then that's probably an app. It's probably not a Chrome extension. But I'll still love it. I'd still love while I'm gaming or doing something else. I'd love to listen to someone reading out a page to me. I know it already exists, but now you are building it.
Maybe don't look at it while you're driving. Just a suggestion. But yeah, let us know what you guys built. Would be cool to see. All right, as promised, it's a few days later. We now have AutoCoder. What is AutoCoder, Varun?
So we now finally have a tool where you can use Smol, and we have a modified version of Smol. It's not exactly Smol because we have to change a lot of things. For you, any layman or a developer who just wants to speed up his work to generate any Chrome extension that you want. You can actually generate all types of web apps, but we've not tested it for all types of web apps. It still fails 20% of the time, just like Smol. Probably less failure rate. But so this is AutoCode. The link's here. It's your personal junior developer. So all you have to do is sign in with Google. So first you have to set up your key. So just go to the account page. you can either put in your own OpenAI key, or you can use our API key for a price. My recommendation is if you have your own API key, use it. It ends up cheaper, and it's good use of. I mean, it's I think free to get an OpenAI key at this point, right? Then go back once it's set up. So let me just set it up. So then let's go to projects. Let's create a project. Okay, it's very simple. You can choose between GPT-3 and GPT-4. GPT-4 is much better. GPT-3 still has errors. Say GPT-4. I want to create a Chrome extension. Give me a Chrome extension that when clicked gives me a task manager with a to-do list. When I can add tasks. When I am done with a task, I can check it off. That's it. All you have to do is build. Once you build, you get a page. It takes like 5-10 minutes. It builds it, and you can download it and upload it on Chrome. That's all there is to it.
All right, that's for today's episode of Overpower. Hope this was useful. Thank you, Varun, for being patient and telling me that how this thing works. This was super useful.
Very well. Thank you to GPT-4 and my mom and my brother and my uncle. And bye. See you.
Bye.